Well, now's the time of year when all those prestige blockbuster movies come to theaters, but the new DVD Blu-ray release of this year's Mission Impossible Fallout is a chance to get a second look at one of the most pulse-pounding action movies ever made. I dropped by the International Spy Museum in Washington, D.C. to meet up with one of the film's co-stars, Norwegian actor Christopher Joner, and with CNN newscaster Wolf Blitzer, who plays himself in the movie. Or does he?
Did we get it?
Of course we got it.
You two figure in one of the best surprises in the whole movie, and we're not going to give it away here. But what do you do at the end of the day, after the end of that filming? Do you tell your friends and relatives?
I keep it under my hat. I want them to go enjoy the film. I let them know I have a little role in it, and you'll enjoy it. I think the viewers, who go see the film, they'll enjoy that scene as well. And he does a great job too.
Of course, I call him and say, "Hey, I worked with Tom Cruise, and Blitzer came, and it was insane,"
Wolf, you're the latest in a long line of TV anchors who have made movies. Edward R. Murrow was in Sink the Bismarck. Eric Sevareid was in The Right Stuff. Is there an appeal to stepping out of that newsman's skin, although you're still playing a newsman?
I'm playing a role I've worked on my whole career, so I'm pretty.
You were born to play this
I was
part.
born to play Wolf Blitzer, so it's a role I can do.
Just about every weekend this month, at least 2 Oscar hopefuls will be opening in theaters, but here are the movies you've just got to see.
Mary,
Poppins, you came back.
you seem hardly to have aged at all.
Really? One never discusses a woman's age, Michael. Would have hoped I taught you better.
Topping the must-see list is Mary Poppins Returns, with Emily Blunt stepping into the dancing shoes worn so memorably by Julie Andrews more than 50 years ago. The new Poppins doesn't make you try to forget the original. In fact, there are fond reminders of it all through the new film. But from the soaring songs to the stellar cast, you'll find a whole new appreciation for the folks on Cherry Tree Lane.
Off we go.
Christmas Day itself is going to be really interesting in the multiplex. 3 wildly different films are opening on December 25th, and none of them are for kids.
Who is it?
In Destroyer, Nicole Kidman gives the performance of a lifetime, playing a troubled LA police detective at 2 different phases of her life. For part of the film, she's a rookie cop, in over her head in an undercover assignment that goes horribly wrong.
No, you cops!
Then we see her years later, emotionally scarred by the tragedy and totally burned out. It's an Oscar-worthy performance, and one you must see, although admittedly, it's a little intense for Christmas Day.
I just want to do one good thing.
What do you say? I want you to be my VP.
I believe we can make this work.
Speaking of intense, Christian Bale makes his case for a Best Actor Oscar playing former Vice President Dick Cheney in the quirky political drama Vice. It's written and directed by Adam McKay, the guy who made the weird and wonderful financial drama The Big Short. I mean, just get a look at Christian Bale as Dick Cheney. He disappears into that doughy body and has mastered the Veep's grunting voice and trademark smirk. Whether you like Cheney or not, Vice is a must-see for anyone who loves political intrigue.
There are 178 laws that differentiate on the basis of sex. Women can't work overtime. We have to get credit cards in our husband's name. We're not allowed to work in mine.
This is a man's world.
The third big Christmas Day opening will be On the Basis of Sex, which really isn't a sexy movie at all. It's the story of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's first case as a young lawyer, a sex discrimination suit in the early 1970s.
If the law differentiates on the basis of sex, then how will women and men ever become equals?
Armie Hammer plays Ginsburg's loyal husband, and Kathy Bates turns up as a pioneering female attorney.
What did you say your name was?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Although an excellent documentary about Ginsburg was already a big hit this year, On the Basis of Sex tries to paint a more human portrait of the legendary judge.
The word woman does not appear even once in the U.S. Constitution.
Nor does the word freedom, Your Honor.
I feel the fire begin to rise.
Und der Haifisch, der hat Zähne.
Until Ernie Kovacs came along in the early 1950s, TV was pretty much an electronic version of vaudeville, with singers, comics, and jugglers performing on a tiny stage in your living room. But in a flash of genius, Kovacs realized that by manipulating the image from just beyond the TV's squared-off frame, he could invent an entirely new kind of comedy. Kovacs would have been 100 this year, and Shout Factory is celebrating with a 9-disc collection called Ernie Kovacs The Centennial Collection. It presents virtually every known recording from a career that ended all too soon in a 1962 car crash.
And that's our podcast. For more on the movies, come to SaturdayEveningPost.com/movies, and for all my reviews, interviews, and videos, come to my website, moviesfortherestofus.com. For the Saturday Evening Post, I'm Bill Newcott.